Hello everyone and welcome to LEGO Star Wars Hot Takes Episode 4. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars you want me to discuss in next week's video, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get right into it, starting off with Lepra8766 saying every LEGO Star Wars sets involving ships should be coming with a little stand for the said ship, as well as a little thing to show off the figures that come with it. In parentheses, just a little structure because it stresses me out to see my TIE Interceptor standing on its wings, and let's be honest, it'd look way cooler. Now on paper, this is an absolutely amazing idea, as everyone wants to have a cool way to display their LEGO Star Wars models, and there's actually a company called Wickbricks that has a great website, and they actually make stands specifically for LEGO Star Wars sets. They're usually just one-piece stands that are big and transparent, and it makes the ships look like they're actually flying, and you can pose them in many different ways. Although these stands are actually quite expensive on their own, like a simple X-Wing stand being $20, and this would be the problem if LEGO included these in their sets, is that they would just bump up the price so much and people would be complaining and people would not be wanting to pay that price. And it definitely wouldn't market towards the kids that don't really need to display their sets like adult fans do. So on paper, this is a good idea, but if they actually did this, the sets would just be so expensive. So I think it's good that LEGO is just sticking to making stands only for UCS sets. And Angry Hessian 5574, these YouTube ads are kind of getting out of hand, I can't lie. Anyways, he says for the second hot take, I think LEGO should start doing arm printing on troopers. It honestly goes a long way to make them not so white. Not for context, if you don't know what he's talking about, last week I talked about how the new clone troopers are just too white and the old ones had black hips and colored arms, and it just provided more contrast and made the troopers look a little bit more expressive overall. So his solution, instead of colored arms, is just arm printing, and this does sound like a good idea, as I mean, who wouldn't want a bunch of arm printed clone troopers? I just feel like in some way it would just bump the prices up of these sets even more, and it also would take away the kind of exclusivity and rarity factor of getting an arm printed figure, as they used to only come in like UCS sets, or every now and then they'd come in a new set or a polybag. Although now LEGO's starting to throw them in more sporadically, it's just I don't think it would really be in LEGO's best interest or our best interest to have every single clone trooper and stormtrooper have printed arms. I just can't imagine LEGO designing custom arm printing for just all these different clone trooper variants that they're making, and a battle pack with only arm printed clone troopers. I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, you can't get me wrong. It's just that would be so much extra time and money on LEGO's part, and then it would be so much more pain on our part as we would have to deal with the new prices. Yeah, I think it's kind of good that arm printing is becoming more common, but I don't think it should be so common that it's on every single trooper. Again, the easiest fix is just to go back to colored arms. Zetrix YT says, hot take, the new LEGO Star Wars mechs are very good. I know it's not canon or based on something in the Star Wars universe, but the minifigures are amazing and the builds are pretty solid. I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one. I know a few months ago when I first saw these mechs, I didn't really like them that much, but I've now come to realize that these are actually a pretty good and healthy thing for the LEGO Star Wars community. I think they're pretty cool and I think they're unique in their own way. They sort of remind me of LEGO Mixels, if you guys remember those, and they're sort of made to be looked at from a collector standpoint and not from a Star Wars standpoint, so they're really made for just collecting and kind of saying that you have all the LEGO Star Wars mechs, kind of like the helmet builds or even the 20th anniversary exclusive minifigures. They're kind of just made for strictly collecting and not really just for like picking and choosing which one you think is best, and they're just cool to put on display. Then obviously there are little differences like the different minifigures or better builds will cause some to be more favorited than others, especially in the third-party market. Again, I think it'll just be healthy for the Star Wars community and kind of give something for fans to talk about and collect, and not be so worried about accuracy and other things like we are with the actual sets. The only downside is that they are pretty overpriced. Also, another thing is that I really hope LEGO doesn't just overwhelm us with a large amount of mechs each year. I think releasing 2 or 3, no more than 3 a wave would be the best idea. So maybe we could come out to getting about 8 to 10 or maybe 12 mechs a year. I really just think that would be the best move from a collecting standpoint. Ethereal Glint 41 says, hot take, all UCS sets or at least 18 plus sets should be minifig scale. Maybe not sets like Star Destroyers, but the smaller scale could allow for better prices and nice details. Now again, this is a great idea on paper, although the main problem is there's sort of a limited amount of Star Wars vehicles that LEGO could make minifig scale and pull off as a UCS set, and most of those sets have already been done, like the UCS Razor Crest or the Millennium Falcon or the AT-AT. I mean, there's really no point in making Starfighters minifig scale because they're basically already minifig scale as playsets, like the 2018 X-Wing or any of the A-Wings or Y-Wings or even any of the AT-STs. They're all basically minifigure scale as playsets. So when LEGO makes a Starfighter UCS set, they really want to make it as big and detailed as possible, so keeping it minifig scale is just really not in mind. So there really is a very limited number of vehicles that they could pull off as a UCS set in minifig scale. Really the only 2 options I can think of are probably a Republic gunship and an ATTE, more so the ATTE because obviously they just made a UCS gunship in 2021, and they did kind of butcher it and make it really oversized when I think they could have pulled it off as minifig scale, but I mean, it is what it is. Obviously there's a bunch of random other Star Wars vehicles you could pick, but realistically those ones would be the only two that would really be worth making into a UCS set, as they're popular and they would both definitely sell well. So I mean, really besides the ATTE and the gunship, mainly just the ATTE, I don't really see them making any type of starfighters in minifig scale, just because they're already minifig scale as playsets. The Brick Reporter says, hot take, we could use some UCS sequel trilogy sets. Just think about how cool a massive Kylo Ren shuttle would look. And yes, I completely agree with you. I think if there is any vehicle to make a UCS set out of from the sequels, it is definitely Kylo Ren shuttle. Although I really don't know if LEGO will ever do this. I feel like it's kind of 50-50. I mean, as we all know, the sequel trilogy is definitely looked down upon from the Star Wars community, and that did kind of bleed over into the LEGO Star Wars community, and I sort of explained that in my video talking about why 2018 was one of the worst years for LEGO Star Wars. Mainly the main reason was just because the sequels were a bust and LEGO wasn't really expecting that, and they haven't made any sequel sets for a couple of years now, so I'm not really sure if they'd even consider making a UCS one, and if they did, it would definitely be a risk, but I think if it was Kylo Ren shuttle, I think it would sell very, very well and look amazing on display. The Brick Guy 909 says, hot take, I think the 2014 MTT is underrated. My only complaint with it is that it isn't as good as the 2007 and has a huge hollow area where the lever is to let out the droids. Even though it is a downgrade from the 07 model, I think it's still great and pretty accurate. And yes, I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one. In my top 10 most underrated LEGO Star Wars sets video, I actually put this set at the number 2 spot. So yes, I do think it is very underrated and I think it gets a lot of hate. And really the only reason is just because it came after the 2007 model, which is one of the best LEGO Star Wars sets ever made. So the bar was obviously set very high for the MTT and LEGO definitely didn't meet that bar, although that doesn't make it a bad set. The most significant upgrade in my opinion is that it uses a lighter colored brown, and it just makes it look a little bit sleeker and a little bit newer, although like you said, the model doesn't look as good as the 07 model, and it's definitely lacking in the amount of droids it comes with too. DJ Bricks 12 says, hot take, LEGO should make more Imperial sets rather than Clone Wars sets. And this isn't really even a hot take. I mean, I think most people will agree with you on this one. I think there is quite an imbalance of how many Clone Wars sets they're making versus Imperial sets, especially in the field of battle packs. I think it should just be evened out more. I mean, LEGO's only releasing like 2 or 3 battle packs a year now, and they could easily be releasing like 5 or 6 like they did back in 2014, 2015, and they could make like 3 of them Imperial, 3 of them Clone Trooper, or 3 Rebel or whatever. Just that way they'd be able to easily split up the factions and kind of balance it out, and we wouldn't be stuck with just Clone Wars battle packs. Commander Kronos says, hot take, LEGO needs to leave the Clone Wars era completely. We have too many clones and droids, why can't we get a Rebel Fleet Trooper or Stormtrooper battle pack? Now, I honestly can't really tell if you're being serious when you said they need to leave the Clone Wars era completely, as I mean, your profile picture is literally a LEGO Clone Commander, and I mean, we can't deny that the Clone Wars have done so much for LEGO. They can't just leave the era completely. I mean, like I just said in the last hot take, we need more Stormtrooper and Rebel battle packs, although that doesn't mean LEGO needs to go to the extreme of completely leaving the Clone Wars era. Honestly, this might be one of the most wildest hot takes I've ever seen. I can't really even tell if you're being serious. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. As always, if you have any LEGO Star Wars hot takes or controversial opinions, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.